Welcome to Neat Den. Let us see Chapter 2 of Biology, Class 11th NCERT syllabus. So the Chapter 2 in Unit 1 of Biology consists of biological classification, and we will take part 1 of this particular class today. So today we will see what is five kingdom classification. So we know that since the beginning of civilization, various attempts have been made to classify living organisms. And why was there a need to classify living organisms? Because we needed to use these organisms for various purposes, like for our food, for shelter, as well as for clothing purposes. So, depending upon the use, human beings tried to classify living organisms. But it was Aristotle who made an earliest attempt for more scientific classification of living organisms, and he used simple morphological characters to classify plants into trees, shrubs, and herbs. Also, he divided animals into two groups, such as those which had red blood cells and those which did not have red blood. However, in Linnaeus' time, a two-kingdom system of classification evolved, which consisted of kingdom Plantae and Animalia only. And these two kingdoms included all plants and animals respectively. This system, however, did not distinguish between eukaryotes and prokaryotes. We will see what is eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Also, it did not distinguish between unicellular and multicellular organisms. And also, it did not distinguish between photosynthetic blue-green algae and non-photosynthetic organisms like fungi. The two-kingdom system classification of organisms into plants and animals was very easily done and was also very easy to understand. But a large number of organisms did not fall into either of these two categories. Hence, the two-kingdom classification was found to be inadequate. Thus, besides gross morphology, we felt a need for including other characteristics like cell structure, nature of the wall, the cell wall, mode of nutrition, the habitat, the environment in which the organisms live, methods of reproduction, and also evolutionary relationships between the organisms, etc. These characteristics need to be used for classifying various organisms. Thus, R.H. Whittaker in 1969 proposed a five-kingdom classification, which consisted of Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. And the main criteria on the basis of which this five kingdom classification was made were the structure of the cell, the organization of the body, the mode of nutrition, reproduction, and phylogenetic relationships. Now, what is the meaning of phylogenetic relationships? It means evolutionary relationship between organisms of the same species or of a population. And this type of relationship is determined by determining similarities between various organisms in terms of similarities of DNA, RNA, or any other proteins, and also various morphological similarities. Thus, before going to this five kingdom classification, let us see certain terminologies which are used in this particular classification. So let us see what is prokaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are present in prokaryotes, which are unicellular organisms. These prokaryotic cells are small in size. They have cell wall, which is complex in nature. We know that the cells generally have nucleus, but in prokaryotic cell, the nucleus is not present. However, the nuclear material like DNA is arranged in the cytoplasm in the form of shapes like circular shape. The cytoplasm is present inside the cell, but the cytoplasm lacks many organelles. Only ribosomes are present as the organelles inside the cytoplasm. Mitochondria is absent, endoplasmic reticulum is absent, lysosomes, centromeres, all are absent from the cytoplasm. The cell division in these prokaryotic cells occurs by the method of binary fission. If they have flagella, then the size of the flagella is small. They reproduce only by asexual method of reproduction. And the examples of prokaryotes are bacteria and archaea. As compared to these prokaryotes, eukaryotes. Now, eukaryotes may be unicellular, mostly multicellular organisms, and a eukaryotic cell is much larger than the prokaryotic cell. The cell wall, which is present around the cell, is generally simple, chemical in nature. And this cell has got true nucleus. All the DNA, all the nuclear material is present inside the nucleus, which is surrounded by the nuclear membrane. Also, the cytoplasm has many organelles, including mitochondria, ribosomes, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, and so on and so forth. The cell division in these types of cell occurs by mitosis, where the nucleus also divides and then the two daughter cells are produced with equal nuclear and cytoplasmic material inside it. These eukaryotic organisms may reproduce sexually as well as asexually. And the examples are various plants and animals. Always remember that plant cell has got a cell wall around it. A cell wall which is around the cell membrane. However, an animal cell does not possess the cell wall. It has got a cell membrane as the only protecting membrane of that particular cell. Some more terminologies which are used in five kingdom classification: the mode of nutrition, that is autotrophs and heterotrophs. So autotrophs, they are organisms which can synthesize their own food material or can generate energy. So they may be of two types. The first is chemosynthetic autotrophs. Second is photosynthetic autotrophs. So what is chemosynthetic autotrophs? These organisms can synthesize their energy or ATP by oxidation of inorganic chemicals such as sulfur, nitrates, nitrites, and other similar compounds which are present in their habitats. Whereas photosynthetic autotrophs, they use the energy of sun to convert water from the soil and carbon dioxide from the air into a nutrient called glucose. So we all know that all the green plants and also blue-green algae are photosynthetic as they possess chlorophyll inside them. As compared to autotrophs, heterotrophs are organisms which cannot synthesize their own food and hence they depend upon various organic compounds which are present in both plants as well as animals for food. So, heterotrophs may be of three types: saprophytes, parasites, and those showing holozoic nutrition. So, what are saprophytes? Saprophytes are heterotrophs which obtain their food from remains of decaying dead organisms or decomposed leaves, plant remains, excreta, and also food articles. For example, mushroom. Whereas parasites are organisms which live on as well as feed on another living organisms like lice, tapeworm, which lives inside the intestine. What about holozoic nutrition? Holozoic nutrition is a type of nutrition in which there is organisms takes in complex organic matter, whether of plant or animal origin, either as solids or liquids, and this organic matter further undergoes various steps inside the body of this organism, like digestion, assimilation, egestion. So the complex organic matter is converted into simpler form and then it is digested, it is assimilated, absorbed inside the body and used as a source for production of energy. So this type of holozoic nutrition is seen in most of the animals, right from amoeba to human beings. So now let us come to the five kingdom classification and how the five kingdoms have evolved. These have evolved on the basis of various characters like cell wall, cell type, nuclear membrane, body organization, and mode of nutrition. So let us see what are the differences in these characteristics in the different kingdoms. So the cell type we can see, except for Monera, which is prokaryotic cell, rest of all the kingdoms, that is Protista, fungi, Plantae, and Animalia, show eukaryotic cell. As far as the cell wall is concerned, you can see the Animalia kingdom does not have cell wall. It is present in all the rest of the kingdoms, but has got different characteristics, such as in Monera, the cell wall is non-cellulosic. In Protista, the cell wall is present in some, may be absent in others. In fungi, the cell wall is present with chitin, which is a tough material. And in Plantae, the cell wall is cellulosic. As far as the nuclear membrane is concerned, we find that the nuclear membrane is absent in Monera as the cells are of prokaryotic type, whereas it is present in Protista, fungi, Plantae, and Animalia, as all of them have eukaryotic cell type. What about the body organization? We find that Monera and Protista are mostly unicellular organisms. However, Protista and even Monera may be found in clusters, but they are unicellular organisms. However, fungi is multicellular, though the tissue which is formed because of cluster of cells is loose. In plantae, the cells, the tissue, the plantae are multicellular and they form tissues as well as organs. In Animalia, again, multicellular and may form tissue, organ as well as organ systems. As far as the mode of nutrition is concerned, we find that Monera may be both autotrophic as well as heterotrophic. When they are autotrophic, they may be chemosynthetic as well as photosynthetic. When they are heterotrophic, they are either saprophytic or parasitic. Protista may again be autotrophic and heterotrophic. And when they are autotrophic, they are mostly photosynthetic autotrophs. Fungi, they are always heterotrophic and they are either saprophytic or parasitic heterotrophs. Plantae are always autotrophic and they are photosynthetic autotrophs, whereas Animalia are always heterotrophic and they may show holozoic or saprophytic heterotrophic patterns. So this table should be by heart by each and every one of us. So the cell type is prokaryotic only in Monera. The cell wall is absent only in Animalia. The nuclear membrane is absent only in Monera. The body organization shows development of tissues and organs in Plantae and Animalia only. The mode of nutrition is only heterotrophic in fungi and also in Animalia. So even a three-domain system was proposed after this five kingdom classification, in which they divided the kingdom Monera into two domains. So this single kingdom Monera was divided into two domains, and remaining all eukaryotic kingdoms were placed in the third domain. So this made up a sixth kingdom classification. Now, why this five kingdom classification evolved? What were the issues and considerations that influenced the development of a five kingdom classification? Early classification systems included bacteria, blue-green algae, fungi, mosaics, ferns, gymnosperms, angiosperms, all under plants. So we can all identify blue-green algae, mosaics, ferns, etc. Gymnosperms are plants which do not produce fruits or flowers, and the seeds are exposed externally. Whereas angiosperms are plants which produce fruits and flowers, and seeds are present inside the fruits. So all these variety of organisms were placed under plants. And this was based on a common character. That is, all these organisms which were placed under plants had cell wall in their cells. So they were placed in one category. However, this created certain problems. This placed together groups which widely differed in other characteristics. So what were these groups which were grouped together, which were not separated? First is prokaryotic as well as eukaryotic organisms. They were grouped together because of this type of classification, earlier type of classification. So prokaryotic blue-green, prokaryotic bacteria, blue-green algae, were grouped together with eukaryotic organisms. Also, even unicellular and multicellular organisms were put in the same group, like unicellular chlamydomonas as well as multicellular spirogyra were placed together under algae. Also, this older system of classification did not differentiate between heterotrophic groups like fungi and autotrophic green plants, though they also showed a characteristic difference in their walls. As we had already seen, fungi have chitin in their walls and green plants had cellulosic cell wall. Though the cell wall was different, but still they were grouped under the same group. Thus, considering these flaws, a new system, that is five kingdom system, was proposed and was evolved. So this led to all the fungi being placed in a separate kingdom, that is kingdom fungi. All the prokaryotic organisms, that is unicellular organisms, were placed under kingdom Monera, and unicellular eukaryotic organisms were placed in kingdom Protista. So unicellular prokaryotic organisms were placed in Monera, and unicellular eukaryotic organisms were placed in kingdom Protista, along with paramecium, amoeba, etc. Thus, it has put together organisms which in earlier classifications were placed in different kingdoms. So the five kingdom classification has put together organisms which were placed in different kingdoms in earlier classification because the criteria for classification changed. So the criteria for classification will keep on changing in future with improvement in our understanding of characteristics and evolutionary relationships. So in this chapter, we will study characteristics of kingdom Monera, Protesta, and fungi of the Whittaker system of classification, that is five kingdom classification. The kingdom Plantae and Animalia will be separately dealt with in chapters 3 and 4. So thank you all. If you like this video and understand it, please share it with your friends and subscribe me then.